Today I'm making another attempt at getting the Skaven into Warhammer 40k, and I'm gonna use this buggy for that, because I want to see if I can make some sort of Voten high-tech Skaven, Skotann I guess they're gonna be called. And I have the buggy prepared here because I don't want to do too much with just the buggy. I want to still make it look like it's Votann, maybe it's looted Votann, something like that, and then modified and improved in Skaven style. But I also added a lot of battle damage already, especially on this armor plating, and I'm gonna add a little bit more because I think it could use a few more dents and scrapes and knocks and so on and so forth. But overall I'm quite happy with it. I'm just going to see if I can mount a massive Skaven gun right here on the back. And I got this massive cannon. It's the rattling war blaster that I've left over from the Age of Sigmar starter box from this edition. And I'm just going to start clipping bits out, cleaning them up, and I'm going to see how I can fit it in the back of that truck. There we go. It looks very archaic and very Skaven, of course. It needs a bunch of 40k bits and pieces. So first of all, the wood beam over here, I'm going to see if I can make it concrete, maybe a proper scope, some techie bits here and there, maybe give him a seat belt in the form of chains or something like that. I don't know, I'll figure it out. But I also got to figure out how I'm going to put this thing onto the truck, because I could just put it right in the center. But that's kind of what a Votann would do, or what a human would do. I don't think that's what Skaven would do. Skaven would sort of put it off-center over here for whatever messed up reason. But it also gives me space over there to put some more Skaven bodies on this miniature. Because if you want to make something look really Skaven, you have to make it sort of a squalid mess of guys running around doing stuff. So, like my artillery over here, you know, you got an overseer with a whip, another sort of armored guy with a pistol, some unarmored guys walking around in rags, stuff happening, lots of rats crawling around on the model. And that's also what I want to do with this buggy. So I got this whole bundle of sprues left over from all other Skaven Kitbash project and this one over here. These are the new clan rats, and I got this guy with a banner, and we need more banners in 40k, so why not give him a proper Skaven banner? I'm using this one and not that one because this one looks like it's fluttering in the wind, so it could give a little bit of speed to the whole vehicle. Now, of course, he needs to be visible, so I'm gonna stick him right here on the edge of the cart. Maybe just see if I can pin that pole into the side. Make it look like it's actually something that they drilled into the side as well. And the only issue is he got these little rats that are walking around his feet. And I think I gotta get rid of those because it's a bit weird to see these rats walking forward on a buggy like this. So I'm just gonna start clipping those off. There we go. I left one little rat that's here behind his leg. It's okay. The others, I got the heads lying right here, and I'm gonna see if I can fit them somewhere on this vehicle later, like they're poking out of a little rat hole or something like that. Now I think one or two more there in the back, like one of these older clan rat models. They're nice, they're pretty twisted, so they fit right here between the gun and the sideboard of this buggy. And I think I can add a little plague monk in the back. Like that, looking backwards. So I guess he's gonna get a little bit car sick when this thing is zooming around, but it's a plague monk, so that's okay. He's used to getting sick. But they need some arms, and I gotta figure out what I can do with them because it's very cramped space. I want to paint them separately and then still stick them in there somehow. I don't know exactly how I'm gonna do that yet, so let me solve that problem first. Now for the Plague Monk, I think the solution is pretty simple. To just take Plague Monk arms that are pretty close to the body and are not really sticking out with any staffs or spears or anything like that. So I'm gonna give him this hand that has a couple of bells because, you know, bells are good to have on your Skaven Kitbash, and a little dagger on the other side. And to give that monk a little bit more space to stand there, I'm going to get rid of these stairs. This little ladder that the Skaven can use to get up to the gun. He doesn't really need it because he can just climb over the other side and get up there. And now the Plague Monk has space for his arm. But this clan rat that's sitting in the front, I kind of want to have him hanging over the edge with a spear or a lance or something, like this hook that I have. I think it would be cool to have him hook stuff as the buggy is zipping by and then drag these enemies along with the buggy or until they fall off his hook. But I think I might have to elevate him a little bit to have that arm stick over the edge of the truck. Yeah, like this. I quite like it. He's hanging over the edge, looking forward with that hook sticking out. The guy with the banner is still right behind him, and I'm gonna see if I can pin that thing there into that buggy. But like this, I quite like the composition. Little Plague Monk in the back, banner, dude with a spear on the front. Of course, I still need a driver, and I also want to make this whole buggy just feel a little bit more defiled. Like it's the Skaven come in and they start tacking stuff on. Actually, you know what? I've been looking at him for a while. I like that spear so much. I'm just gonna get that Plague Monk a spear as well, because I think I can have it stick out here on the back too. And it just sort of fits the theme that they are riding along, poking at stuff when they get a little too close. And the Plague Monk has become a clan rat, because I just couldn't fit it over here with this arm, with these bells. They were getting against that bar. I couldn't position him properly, and I can already see the issues. After I've painted everything, I need to put stuff in place. It's gonna be a pain in the backside. So this way I got more space. He has his arms closer to his body, and I don't really think anybody's gonna see the difference anyway. So it's time to work on the vehicle itself and add some Skaven bits. First things first. Now, regardless of if I pin this guy in here or glue him on there or whatever I do, the connection is not going to be perfect, so I'm going to hide it a little bit with some of these Skaven shields. I think I can just strap them here to the side, and it also gives me an explanation for why the clan rats are not wearing any shields themselves. There we go, couple on this side. I gave the driver a little bit of protection too. He probably needs it. A couple on this side as well. And it's time for some just Skaven symbols to add to this buggy. Got the bells that I clipped off the Plague Monk's hands. This Skaven icon that comes from one of the banners. I think it's from the Storm Vermin, the old ones. This is the skin of the drum from the clan rats or the Storm Vermin as well. And it has a nice head on it, which reminds me, I gotta put some Votann trophies on here too. And I just clipped the heads out of this old Votann sprue, but I'm moving a little too fast. I should do the driver first, because then I can put this console in there. And I think that's the perfect place for a row of spikes with Votann heads on top. So, for the driver, he already has his legs, because you can't really assemble the model without the Votann driver legs. But I'm going to give him the top part that is Skaven. And it's coming from one of these old Storm Vermin sprues, because they've got these nice bodies and they have nothing hanging off it. No pouches, no belts, no nothing. And I can just cut it in two, like so, just at the belt. And he fits nicely in the car with the original Votann arms. And I'm going to give him a head from one of the Storm Vermin. And this is one of the Skaven that has an eye patch, because I think that's perfect for the Skaven. Let the guy with one eye drive the car. And I'm going for a bit of variety for this trophy rack that I wanted on the front of this buggy. I got one head that's going to get nailed here right onto the plate. And for the other two, I have them impaled on this little pinning rod. And I just stick it right in there. Glue the heads in place, and then I'm going to add some more Grimdark 40k bits to this buggy. So some chain, for example, and I can loop this one here over that trophy rack and have it sort of go to the back, wrap it around one of these pipes for a little bit, and I continue that chain all the way to those bells. So maybe he can yank that chain and then ring the bells while he's driving along. I added some more chain here on the back just to close that gap, some over here, some wires sticking out here and there. And I think I need to add a little bit of cloth as well, but I'm gonna wait with that because I want to let all the super glue dry and take a look after I've 40k'd up the gun, because that's also important. So I'm just going to start with the Skaven himself, and I'm going to give him that seatbelt that I was talking about. Have him properly chained onto that chair. So he's securely strapped in, safety first and all of that. Let's work on a little bit of a scope for the gun. And I think I can use this thing over here. This is, I believe, from the Incursors. That's what they call it, the Space Marines. And it looks like a proper weird looking scope thing. Nah, I think it's too small. It's not going to be visible from a distance. It's just going to be a tiny detail. So I got this thing over here, which I believe is some sort of rocket launcher thing. You're supposed to glue the barrel on there. But I can use this part as the sort of lens, the sort of scope that sticks out like this. I just gotta find a little piece to look into for this rat, and I think I can use one of these leftover bits from the actual buggy. I like this screen over here, and while I was looking at what it was used for, I actually realized it's used for this thing, and I think this would be nice to put on top of this gun. So with that piece assembled, you're supposed to put the gun in there, and I'm just gonna put this screen right over that gap. And now I've got some weird looking scope. But to put that scope in the right place, I'm just gonna get rid of this plate, break it off. I'll figure out if I wanna stick it back on later, who knows. And then I can glue this scope right there. With a little bit of sprue goo weld, I saw now that there's a hole over there, and I think I can use a 2mm wire to sort of stick it in there and have some go into that ball over here, just to add more wires, make it look more electronic rather than this archaic rattling technology. Yeah, not bad at all. It looks a little bit too pristine. It looks like it could actually function. I don't want that. I want to make it look like it's Skaven, so it's about to fall apart at all times. So maybe some loose wires or something. But I got a little bit of real estate over there, and it's damaged, of course, from ripping the plastic part off. And I got some of these nail art beads, which is a half sphere, half a ball. And I'm just going to glue it onto that flat part over there to make it look like there's some lights or something on the tube here. Yeah, like that. It gives it a little bit more of a high-tech vibe rather than Skaven tech vibe. Now I got these tiny wires over here. They're from old earphones. And they're perfect for getting these loose wires going that I want to have sticking out over there, for example. Some hanging down maybe from his own console. Some maybe still on the buggy that I have standing here, you know, just make it all look like it's falling apart, or rather there's bits and pieces bolted on there by the Skaven that have some wires loose. There, not bad. Some wires over there, this strap, and there's a jumble mess of wires. I still need to PVA glue this in place because there's some hairy bits sticking out. That's fine, but I'm quite happy with how this part here looks. I'm not 100% sure about the tank yet. It looks a little bit too much Age of Sigmar still. Maybe I need to put on some orky bits or something like that. Or maybe strap it down with a chain. I don't know. But I saw him sitting like here. And I got the idea that maybe these looting, thieving rats, they also picked apart some Votann armor. And I have a few of these pieces left over. And I think it's a perfect place to put one of these hanging over his head. There. He probably doesn't know what it is or what it does or what it's for. But the best Votann have these things hanging over their heads. So why not him? You never know. It might help. Now, I was talking about this barrel here at the end, and I got some more leftover bits on this Votann sprue, and I'm gonna see if I can do something with these plasma pistols, because I think I could add some sort of plasma vents coming out of that barrel. There, like that, like plasma vents here on that barrel, and I'm quite happy with the barrel now. Maybe add a little bit more chain, I don't know yet, we'll see. But I want to start working with some cloth, because the cloth, if you just put some rags on the vehicle, on the gun, on the other Skaven, it really shows this sort of filth that they live in, this garbage that they always have lying around. They just discard it, nobody takes care of it, and it's just fluttering sort of in the wind as this buggy is zooming across the battlefield. Yeah, like that. Some cloth added, just little streaks and just weird wraps of cloth, flags or clothing, who knows. And I added in the little rats as well, the ones that I cut off from the guy with the banner. There's one sticking out over there and one there over the shoulder of the driver. Nice little details that I can paint brightly. Now, I think it's time for some texture paste, starting with these wooden beams on the gun, because I want to turn this into concrete, so just some concrete texture paste. It will fill in these ridges and just make it all look more like it's stone. And then a bit of corrosion texture in all the right places. And then some earth texture paste for proper Skaven filth. And you can imagine yourself what that means. But I especially want it here in the buggy where the Skaven really stand and walk around and sort of have it pour over the edge of this compartment. There, disgusting. I don't know what it is. I want to know what it is. Because probably if they're zipping through their own Skaven lines, they get pelted with all kinds of filth from their buddies that they're running over or flying over or just knocking over. I think it's pretty suitably disgusting by now. Lots of texture in there. It's time to paint. And while I'm blocking in the main colors, maybe you could help me out for a second and leave a comment below what sort of Votann kit bashes you would like to see. Now, do you want some Chaos Votann, for example, with Chaos Dwarfs, or just some other Chaos corrupted Votann that are not necessarily Chaos Dwarf Votann? Or maybe one where the Votann has gone insane. You know, the AI is gene-smithing all kinds of monsters and mongrels and weird twisted beings. Or maybe it's all just mechanical things. It's all the Ironkin, the weird robots that I walk around with. Or maybe you're like me and you think back fondly to the dwarves from Warhammer Fantasy. Probably the best dwarf lore of any setting ever. And Games Workshop threw it away. sadly. So maybe you want some actual dwarf Votann. I could do that. Now with the basic colors blocked in on the miniature, I'm gonna talk a little bit about what I'm trying to achieve with my different things that I'm doing with this paint scheme. So first of all, the Skaven are gonna wear orangey robes, orangey scraps of cloth. And also these bits of cloth that are hanging all over the vehicle, they're gonna become orange as well, because that way they fit with my Skaven kill team. This is a two-part video that I made quite a few months ago, together with Andy from the Glass Half Dead channel. And I quite like the orange for the Skaven, but it's not a way that I can use orange. So I don't have to use an additional color in this paint scheme. I'm already having this white and the teal for the Votann bits. I'm gonna have lots of rust in there, and rust is of course orange. So if I then paint the cloth orange, I don't have too many different colors all trying to scream for attention. And for the same reason, I'm painting these tanks sort of verdigris green, because again, that's also what the Votann have. A couple of bronze and brass dry brushes later, and it's time for the rust. And I'm just gonna pick out a bunch of things and give them different levels of rust. So the Votann vehicle is gonna be much less rusted than the Skaven stuff, because I just want to show that Skaven kind of influence everything around them. Kind of like Chaos Corruption, but then Skaven Corruption, of course. And just anything they touch, anything they get close to just starts to deteriorate, starts to rust, and just becomes filthy. See, like this, there's clearly a difference. You have the Votann metal that is sort of starting to corrode, the shine is dulling, and then you have the Skaven made stuff that is really clearly not doing too well. It'll need a little bit more work, a little bit more effort, a little bit more rust effects, different colors in there, but I also want to set the different Skaven apart, because the Skaven that is sitting here at the top, that guy is clearly the dude in charge. And in my corner of the 40k universe, great power comes with great suffering. So I want to make him look like he is suffering, and it makes sense since he's the dude who's closest to the gun. He probably is under the influence of whatever gas and stuff is in that tank and whatever he's shooting out to the front. He's wearing a gas mask, but it's a Skaven gas mask, so obviously it's not working perfectly, so he's probably still inhaling whatever he's not supposed to be inhaling. So overall, he's just not doing too well. But it's not just the powerful who suffer. I mean, he won't be doing that well, but he's on top of the buggy like this. And so the driver has his head really close to those barrels. And I'm gonna make those barrels look like they're glowing, bright, bright hot. But then this side of the face of this Skaven is gonna burn quite badly. So maybe that's also why he lost that eye over there. And I'm just gonna paint him like it's red, glowing, and a little bit charred as well. And then it's time to make stuff leak. So far it's all been very matte and very dusty and dark and so on and so forth. And adding a little bit of shininess will make it all look so much better. So for example here, this hose, for sure there's something leaking out of this. I'm going to start with some Ichor of the Damned, that's just black, but I'm also having some engine oil and fuel stain standing here. I'm going to start working with some orc blood and some blood for the blood god, just to get some more color in there. And then I make the barrel glow, and my Skotann buggy is done. And I really love how it turned out. It's clearly a Votann vehicle, not a Skaven vehicle, but they looted this. But, you know, they are Skaven. They corrupt everything around them. So everything starts to rust and deteriorate and fall apart, but somehow it's still working. And then there's this real Skaven-created gun, which is in a far worse state than the Votann buggy, even though it might be newer, but it's Skaven-made, so it looks proper Skaven. I also really like the jumble, the mess in the back with a bunch of dudes with their spears, their hooks sticking out of the buggy, hooking anyone and everybody they come across, but probably also fending off their brother Skaven, who try to get on that buggy and get on that gun, because that's of course a much nicer gun than what they are carrying with them. Now I want to give a massive thank you to my patrons and channel members. You guys rock. Thank you for the support, and I'll invite everybody to join the Discord. It's really fun. We have lots of kit bashing people. You can show off your stuff, ask for help, and it's just a good community overall. And next week I'm gonna be messing up Ethan Sean, the new Raven Guard Jump Lord.